Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. When things fall apart, that's not just a good opportunity, it's an absolute necessity for things to fall apart, for things to go wrong, for your usual ways of doing things to not work out the way that you want them to, for you to feel uncertain, for you to feel fearful, for you to feel like you don't know what's going to happen next, for you to feel anxious about your future to the point where you can't really do anything about it, for you to feel like you've lost your ground. These aren't just happenstances that are fortunate. They are absolute necessities, and it's part of the job of your practice and the teacher to make sure that things do fall apart. Because what happens when things are going well, see, whenever we have a definition of things are going well and things are going wrong, we are already in Ordinaryville. So when things are going well, because that's Ordinaryville, who are they going well according to? Going well according to small self. Going well according to ordinary mind concept. Going well according to karma, or habitual patterns. Going well according to what we've decided is going well, according to our culture, our family, our religion, our whatever, our self-image, our self-concept, our career path, our life coach, going well according to all those things means that little self is in there going, yeah, baby, I'm going to get what I want. Yeah. So consequently, because now I have this feeling, because things are going well, according to me, I have this feeling that I'm going to get what I want, or maybe I am getting what I want. And so I'm really not going to let go. I'm really not going to surrender anything. I'm not going to open my heart any wider than I need to or than is comfortable. I'm not going to take too many risks. I'm going to actually be more shut down, more invulnerable, less compassionate, less open, less in a state of flowing presence, because I'm getting what I want, so fuck y'all. And I see this over and over and over again in students, that when things are going wrong, all of a sudden you're looking for a bigger view, for a bigger answer. You're feeling your commonality with the human condition. There's a tenderness that enters in when things are going wrong, a vulnerability, a softness, more of a willingness to take risks, to think outside of conceptual ordinary mind, to rely on other people and form alliances and rely on teacher and teachings. Everything is actually going better when things are going wrong for a lot of people. And then when things start to go right, people close down. Because, oh yeah, forget all that. Forget that. No, I'm going to get what I want, so don't bother me. And this process happens very frequently for people. The trick is, how can you keep being in view and being in your practice and being vulnerable and opening up and trying to go into your heart and connect to other people even when things are going right. That's actually the problem. How can you do that? So understand that there's that happening, and really try to look at yourselves and how you treat differently when things are going well and things are going wrong. When you think you're getting what you want and you think you're not getting what you want, or disaster has struck, or something has really fallen away, or you're very, very uncertain about something like your job or your relationship or your house or something like that. The best practitioners, while you're still sort of at the beginning stages and you're still making that very fundamental distinction between things going right and things going wrong, the best practitioners are always those who are in a state of crisis. And in fact, one of the hallmarks of the tradition is that teachers try to provoke states of crisis, oftentimes through exhausting people. Right? This is why when I was learning, we had 3-week-long retreats where we would get up at 4 a.m. for 3 weeks straight with no days off, and do seva and do practice until 10 o'clock at night. Sleep for 6 hours, get up and do the whole thing all over again for 21 days. And part of the reason for that was to put you into a state of crisis where you become more open and more willing to take refuge in the only thing there is to really take refuge in, which is essence nature. When everything else has fallen away, that's all that's left. Ma said that. She said to Baiji, one of her principal disciples, that he was like a flower and she was going to remove all the petals until the only thing that was left was a central golden stalk, which would be her. So anything that you're hanging on to, you either have to let go of or it's going to be taken away so that you can experience groundlessness and find out what's there in that groundlessness, which is essence nature, presence, right? God. Right? If we are too focused on getting what we want in an ordinary mind way, if that becomes our refuge, if our refuge is our job, or our refuge is our house, or our refuge is our relationship, and if we have mistaken that for the ultimate refuge, then we aren't going to be looking in the right places. So there's no prescription in this tradition that we have to live without anything. You can have houses, you can have relationships, you can have jobs, you can eat chocolate and drink coffee and do whatever you like. But if you're attached to any of that, if you are taking attachments, like you're taking refuge in that, right? You can take refuge in drugs. You can do all kinds of things that take refuge in all kinds of things that ordinary mind has mistaken for some sort of safety or security or blanket, something to protect you from the fear of openness, the fear of groundlessness, the fear of the absolutely bottomless ungroundedness of impermanence. If you mistake any of those things in your life for that refuge, then that has to be thrown into crisis at some point in order for you to look for the ground in the right place. So, for those of you for whom you feel things aren't going well right now, look into yourself, see how you are, right? See how you feel about other people. See how you are relating to your practice or the community or the teacher. If you're still holding on very tightly to something, like an idea of something, how things should be, then of course you're put in a very compromised position. If things are falling apart and yet you're holding on tenaciously to concepts about how things should be, or how they would be if they were going right, instead of just letting go and letting yourself fall wherever you're going to fall, then you are in a really uncomfortable position because you're basically holding on to air in the middle of nothing and feeling miserable. We have to be able to go through periods of emptiness and not getting what we want, those in order to discover what's there in that emptiness, the fullness that's there. Purna Brahmanarayani. So I've seen this happen over and over again, where someone will go through a period of uncertainty about something, like their employment, something like that, and they're very good practitioners during those times. And then they get a job and it's all over. Or there's another phenomenon which we actually haven't had in the community for a long time, but we used to have a few incidences of this way back when. People who are on the boyfriend plan, they lost a boyfriend or a husband or a girlfriend or something like that. And so then they're all into spiritual practice until the next romance comes along, and then shoot, out of here. In fact, I used to have a student who would only be around when she was in between relationships. It was quite funny. Do you remember her? I can't remember her name. Anyway, but then one time she showed up with one of the new boyfriends to let me know she was very, very happy. Came to one teaching to just make that very, very clear. Not getting what you want is probably one of the most wonderful tools that wisdom uses to try to help you to realize. And in fact, people go through years of not getting what they want when they're serious practitioners. And actually, you can know that you've earned yourself a spiritual address when you spend a long time not getting what you want. Because it's only when you insist on your karmas that the mother says, oh, okay, here, I'll spoon feed you, whatever. Now you'll have to live through this. But not getting what you want and the processes that you go through internally when you're not getting what you want. And that could be not getting what you want spiritually. You have some idea in mind of what spiritual accomplishment should be or what it should feel like, and then you just don't get any of that. Or it could be in other parts of your life, more average parts of your life too. But when you spend a long time not getting what you want, you actually have to give up wanting those things and just be with what is actually happening and find God there. And that is really the greatest lesson. That's one of the names for that is Dark Night of the Soul. St. John of the Cross wrote about that. I think in the 17th century or 16th century, I'm not sure which, but one of those. And he was a great Christian mystic. And he talked about these periods of time called the Dark Night of the Soul, when you are a practitioner and you're just not getting what you want. You used to feel so connected to God and everybody, and your heart was so open, and things were happening, and you were learning things. Then all of a sudden, you feel disconnected, you feel numb, you feel separate. Your prayers aren't doing anything. You don't even know what you're doing. And St. John of the Cross identified this as something that happens to more advanced practitioners, because it's only the advanced practitioners that can actually deal with that. Everybody else would go screaming from the room, right? And say, I'm done with this. This doesn't work. This isn't working. But when you understand that at least part of the process is to not get what you want, a very, very important part, because little self has to stop believing or being at all confident that it's going to get what it wants. And that's the only way that it just lets go. Little self is a collection of karmas, patterns of consciousness and energy that have momentum. And as long as you keep feeding them, either with successes, you feed them with your successes, or you're reaching your goals or getting what you want, or you feed them with hope, or you feed them with anger that you're not getting what you want, and insistence. I am so going to get what I want, God. Right? We talk to God like that sometimes. Then they stick around. then they really stick around. You're just perpetuating your limitations. But when you understand the process more, and not getting what you want is such a huge part of it, then when you're not getting what you want, eventually your pride gets worn down. Right. Big one. And your expectations go away. And all your concepts about yourself and spiritual practice eventually get ground to dust and dispersed. And all you're left with is just the simpleness of sitting there. And then you realize that all that stuff that you were moaning about God wasn't giving you was in your way. I'm speaking from personal experience. I read St. John of the Cross when I was going through this to try to, feel like there was some companionship in this process, right? And I think the thing that pulls one through not getting what you want, and if you're understanding it, right, is confidence in reality, or confidence in God, or confidence in Guru, or confidence in yourself, or confidence of some sort pulls you through. You know that even if you don't know what is on the other side, and you don't understand the whole process, and you don't really understand everything that's happening, you understand that it's wisdom. You can have confidence that it actually is wisdom working with you, right? It's wisdom working with you. One of my former teachers always used to talk about having a spiritual address. That you're just kind of going along, and then when you start to do daily practice and do a lot more daily practice, you kind of get a spiritual address, and then you get worked with more seriously. You stop getting handled with such kid gloves. So the first thing to notice is what happens when you're getting what you want. Start there. What happens to your heart when you're getting what you want? What happens to your mind? What happens to your compassion? What happens to your ability to consider other people when you're getting what you want? Or are you just zooming by them in a state of pride and rigidity and hardness? Oh, I'm getting what I want. Everything's going well for me. That's no good. Then if you're like that when you're getting what you want, then you know that what's getting what it wants is your small self. What's getting what it wants is your limitations. What's getting what it wants is everything that is constructing your limitations. So that's the first thing to notice. What happens when you're getting what you want? And then if you're a little more far along in the path, you can notice what happens when you don't get what you want. Right? So start with what happens when you do get what you want. And then if you're a little more advanced, you can think, well, let's explore what happens when I'm not getting what I want. What do I do? What's my go-to place? Can I change my attitude towards this and work with that as if God is actually not giving me what I want? Because that's what's happening. If you're practicing every day and you're not getting what you want, you've been practicing for a while, everything's been going great. Wow, cool experiences, feeling so connected, and then all of a sudden, if that happens, you're being worked with. So work back, right? Work back to really let go. Work back to identify your confidence. When you identify your confidence, then you really can let go. It's absolutely necessary to do that. And then there's different kinds of not getting what you want. Sometimes very often your teacher isn't giving you what you want. You could just be not giving you a smile, or not giving you a hug, or not giving you praise, or not giving you a mantra when you ask for it, or not giving you a position that you want, or not recognizing you in some way or another. Those are very, very common forms of not getting what you want from your teacher. But then there's, longer times of not getting, those are moments. There's longer times of not getting what you want. Months, years, decades. St. John said, however long it takes, that's how long you won't get what you want. However long it takes for you to just be there without all that stuff that you wanted. And just be fine. And be loving God just as a simple person sitting there loving God without all the stuff that you thought you wanted. However long it takes to get to that point, that's how long you'll not be getting what you want. And I'll tell you, I went through 7 years of this. You know what came out the other side? Something I never could have dreamt of in a million years. Actual modesty. Actual just being okay with anything that happened. Wow. Do you know how relaxing that is? No, I know you don't. And there was times when I was really angry at Ma. Right. Oh man, before the 7-year period happened, it was like nightly panoramic spiritual dreams and, Ma coming in my dreams and visions and all kinds of energetic phenomenon and incredible stuff happening. I could write books and I would have a line out the door if I said everything that happened. If I wanted Jayakula to grow 10 times the size overnight, all I would have to do was write down everything that happened before those 7 years. And then boom, it's all stopped. I was pissed off. Believe you me, I was pissed. But slowly over that time, I just had to deal with it and relax and find my way back to Ma and to flowing presence and let go of all those expectations and self-definitions and being the great yogini, everything that I had attachment to. And then at the other end of it was just very, very simple. Now there's just unbroken connection with God. Because what was breaking it up was all those expectations and pride and stuff. Right? That had to be demolished. Right? So if you should be so fortunate as to be a good enough practitioner that God stops giving you what you want, that's a huge blessing. It's grace. But first, for those of you that maybe aren't quite ready for a dark night of the soul, your job is to really try not to close up when you're getting what you want. Right. That's job one. You're opening your heart no matter what, even when you're getting what you want. What will happen if you insist on what you want? Because we can do that too. Is that wisdom will say, all right, you're going the long way. Those 7 years I spent with relatively less bells and whistles and lights and fireworks than I had been used to was nothing compared to what I would have had to go through if I insisted on my way, right? Because if you do insist too much, wisdom will say, okay, I'm going to give you what you want, and you're just going to have to live through every inch of it, and it's going to take way longer than not getting what you want. Not getting what you want is a fast path, right? That's a more direct path. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.